Jim, but he was a positive guy. He rolled with the punches and he took it very well. In fact, I don't know if you know this, but Jim today is a prominent veterinarian. And I just thought of him the other day because I saw a sign that reminded me of him. It said veterinarian/taxidermist. Either way, you'll get your pet back. Hi, Jim. I also want to salute another Dogtown boy, Mr. Larry Banks. Larry worked with the old St. Louis Braves. He was the first stick boy that I know of. Larry took an interest in me, and I still appreciate that he did that to this day. He gave me rides out to the old Winterland Ice Rink. He took senior teams out of town, and he would call me, and I was young then, and he'd call me and say, Smitty, we only have about 6 guys. Can you go with us? And I'd go play these senior men, and I was just a kid. And anytime a guy started any trouble, Larry'd jump in, drop the gloves, and go at it. But Larry had a thing that I call the size rule. However much bigger the guy was than him, the more he wanted to fight him. Now, I do want to recognize some guys that I played with and against that I respected then. In fact, I got to say this too. Kenny Lodicki over here, I emailed him and I said, hey, the thing starts at 5 o'clock, so I'll see you then. He said, to hell with 5 o'clock, I'm coming at 3:30. I got some scores to settle with some of these guys. But anyway, I want to recognize Dave Bates, Mark Kohrs, Dennis Francis, Billy Robards, Tom and Eddie Olson, Jimmy and Timmy McDonald, John and Tommy Collette, who are here, good hockey players, great family. Mr. Collette got a lot of attention tonight, deservedly so, but Mrs. Collette was a gem. Your family always treated me great. Thank you. People at Southwest High School where I played, Steve Warmack, Matt Buha, Mike Wilson, Mike Lester, and Gary Rutledge, who's here tonight. Those were Southwest guys that I think a lot of. I also want to salute the Solomon family. When the Solomons brought the Blues to St. Louis, hockey as we know it changed. The Solomons, totally classy people, treated the players like gold. I was a stick boy, treated me great, my brother great. The quality, the players they brought in. Dickie Moore, Doug Harvey, Camille Henry, Glenn Hall, Jack Plant, Bob Barkley and Billy Plager, Red Berenson, Jimmy Roberts, Al Arbor, Tommy Woodcock, Frankie Burns from Dogtown, equipment manager, Noel Picard, who got me a tryout in Quebec City. So because the Blues took an interest in me is why I'm up here tonight. The Solomons made that happen, and I thank you for the whole city. Many of the guys I played with in Canada went on to be pros. Great people, Guy Lafluer, Pierre Plante, John Wensink, who's here tonight. I got traded from Quebec City to Cornwall, Ontario, and the first couple days I was there, Wensink said, wait till Thursday night when we go to Sherbrooke. I said, what's happening in Sherbrooke? He said, well, the last time we played, it was a total brawl, and they want to do it again. And I said, oh, great. So they put me on a line with Wensink. So the brawl started. So that's how I met John. I'm almost done. Appreciate your patience. On Christmas Day, my family read the letter with me from the Hall of Fame, and I was in total shock. They said it's the only time they've ever seen me speechless. But one thing in the letter caught me off guard a little. It said that I was a pioneer in hockey in St. Louis. And at first I said, I don't think so. I'm just a kid that loved to play hockey, and I still love the game. But then I did remember that night a couple instances, and I thought, well, maybe I was a little bit, so I've come around a little. When I went to Quebec City at 15 and signed with the Quebec Remparts, the coach called me and he said, you made the team. We need to contact St. Louis because we want to get your rights from them. I said, what do you mean? And he said, well, up here, you know, we kind of own the player. We have their rights. And I said, well, we don't do that in St. Louis. We just play hockey on teams, and you're free to move wherever you want. And he said, okay, you set it up. Get me the name of the president of Steinberg Rink, because I need to talk to him. So Maurice Fillion of the Remparts called the president of the Steinberg Hockey Association and said, we have to give you something for Mark. And they said, well, we don't do that down here. And he said, well, can we make a donation? And they said, sure, we could use the money for equipment and uniforms. And so the Quebec Remparts of the major Quebec Junior A League sent a big check, pretty big I think, to Steinberg Rink and allowed them to buy some equipment. The other thing is, I was 15 and 16 playing in these small French towns, and we'd pull into a Quebec town and I'd get off the bus and there'd be a bunch of people waiting there and they'd be mumbling something in French. I didn't know what it was. And my players getting off the bus with me would say, Smitty, they're talking about you again. And I'd say, well, what are they saying? And they say, well, some of them are saying, is he the kid? Is he the American? It was almost a freak show, like they hadn't seen an American kid before. Anyway, I asked myself, well, what have I learned in hockey all these years? And I think what it is in a nutshell is make the best out of a situation. If you're hurt, make the best out of it. If you get traded, make the best out of it. And I learned that one night working in the Montreal Canadian locker room. I was the visiting stick boy for the Blues, and they were telling me a story about the Canadians were traveling on an Air Canada flight, and the Gump Worsley, the goaltender, was deathly afraid of flying, and he was sitting next to the revered captain of the Canadians, John Beliveau. The flight attendant came up with a bowl of soup for John Beliveau, and he was an impeccable dresser. He probably had a $5,000 suit on, and they hit a pocket of turbulence, and she dumped the suit in Belivau's lap. She was horrified, ran and got a towel and wiped Mr. Beliveau off. She came back with an envelope and said, Mr. Beliveau, this is from the airline. It's a voucher for you to go have your suit cleaned professionally. At that point, Worsley leaned over and said, can I have one of those for my underwear? So you try to make the best out of it. The Gumper knew how to do it. Anyway, in closing, I'll never forget this experience. Scott Rupp said he hoped that when we were done, I'd be happy tomorrow. I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled to see everybody here. It's been great just seeing everybody again. I'm humbled by this honor, and I thank you.
Based on that speech, we understand what his family said when they said it was the first time they had heard him speechless. That's coming from a play-by-play guy. Think about this. You show up at the rink in gym shorts and a helmet. That leads to a career as a psychotherapist. Put two and two together here and don't mess with that guy. Or if you take somebody to him, make sure you don't